The year was 1967, and the world was captivated by the space race. The United States was in a race against the Soviet Union to land humans on the moon, and the Apollo program was the centerpiece of these efforts. But January 27th, tragedy struck. Hello everyone, welcome to my program, and today I will investigate the accident of Apollo-1. On January 27, 1967, the tragedy struck the United States space program with the loss of 3 astronauts during the pre-flight test for Apollo-1 mission. The crew consisted of 3 astronauts, Wilger Gus Grissom, Edward White, and also Roger B. Chaffee. The mission was scheduled to launch from Kennedy Space Center in Florida, but disaster occurred during pre-launch tests. Senator John F. Kennedy was elected as the President of the United States in 1960 after a campaign that focused on showcasing America's superiority over the Soviet Union, including space exploration. However, when the Soviet astronaut Yuri Gagarin became the first person to fly into space in 1961, the pressure on the US to catch up became even greater. In response, President Kennedy announced an ambitious goal to send an American astronaut to the moon and safely bring them back to Earth by the end of the 1960s. This task was assigned to NASA, the National Aeronautic and Space Administration, to figure out and accomplish. There were 2 primary causes of the Apollo-1 disaster. The first was design of the spacecraft. The spacecraft used pure oxygen in its atmosphere, which was highly flammable and could easily ignite. Additionally, the spacecraft hatch was designed to open inward, which made it difficult to open in an emergency situation. The second cause was a complacent approach to safety by NASA. The agency had failed to adequately test the spacecraft and had not implemented adequate fire safety measures. Astronauts Grissom, White, and Chaffee, clad in their spacesuits inside their command module at Cape Kennedy's Launch Complex 34, were conducting a countdown simulation ahead of their planned February 21st launch. Their mission, officially called Apollo-204, but better known as Apollo-1, was to be the first piloted Apollo flight. As they would on the launch day, the astronauts and ground crews sealed the 3 hatches of the capsule and pressurized it with pure oxygen at 16.7 pounds per square inch, slightly higher than atmospheric pressure. At 6:31 p.m., a flash fire broke out inside the cabin. Within seconds, rising temperatures and pressures caused the CM pressure vessels to crack, releasing the flames and smoke onto the launch pad service structure. The astronauts in vain attempted to open the inner hatch, while the pad crew violently worked to open the outer 2 hatches. Their attempts hampered by dense smoke and heat. By the time they opened the hatches, the crew had already perished. Later that night, after photographers fully documented the scene, recovery crews removed the astronauts' bodies from the spacecraft and took them to nearby medical facility. US Air Force pathologic conducted examinations concluding that the astronauts died of asphyxia from carbon monoxide and other toxic gases resulting from the fire. The burns they received were likely survivable. The lives of people were immediately changed from the Apollo-1 disaster in several ways. Firstly, the families of the 3 astronauts who lost their lives were deeply affected as they had to cope with the sudden and tragic loss of their loved ones. The entire NASA community was also shaken by the accident, and significant changes were made to improve safety protocols and prevent similar incidents in the future. The launch schedule for the Apollo program was delayed, and the focus shifted towards ensuring the safety of the astronauts. There was also a renewed public interest in the space program and a greater appreciation for the risks and challenges involved in space exploration. Overall, the Apollo-1 disaster had a significant and immediate impact on the lives of those who was involved, as well as on the direction of the space program. The Apollo-1 disaster resulted in significant changes in the way NASA approached human spaceflight. These changes included a renewed focus on safety and risk management, as well as a more collaborative and transparent approach to decision-making within the agency. NASA also implemented new fire safety measures and revised the design of the spacecraft to address the design flaws that had contributed to the disaster. Despite the setback, NASA went to achieve one of the greatest achievements in human history with the first moon landing in 1969. The lessons learned from the Apollo-1 disaster continue to inform our approach to human spaceflight and technological innovation today. The tragedy serves as a reminder that innovation must be balanced with the responsibility to protect human life and the environment. The Apollo-1 disaster also had a significant impact on the U.S. economy and the stock of resources. The U.S. government invested billions of dollars in the space program, and the loss of Apollo-1 crew was a setback for the program's progress. However, the lessons learned from the disaster ultimately helped to make the U.S. space program safer and more effective, which has contributed to the country's technological and economic development. The Apollo-1 disaster served as a powerful example of the potential for human capability and development to both inspire innovation and lead to revolution, while also exposing critical flaws and highlighting the need for sustainability. While the accident revealed the risks and challenges of ambitious projects like the Apollo program, it also demonstrated the power of human ingenuity and cooperation and spurred advances in science, technology, and diplomacy. The legacy of the Apollo program continues to inform and inspire the ongoing quest for exploration and discovery, while serving as a reminder of the importance of responsible and ethical decision-making in the pursuit of progress.